All right. Hello and welcome to the K-Red Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Chris with the K. I am super beyond stoked to have Carrie Oliver, Carrie with a K.
Carrie with the K.
From Green Kite Records and Nightlife Presents. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking me.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You know, how have you been? I feel like I haven't seen you for a while. How have you been?
I have been really good. Really tired, but really good because one of our bands is being looked at by a pretty big label, so we're kind of happy.
Hey,
right
amazing.
now.
Awesome. Well, you know, I know that you've had a couple interviews on like Voyage, and I've seen some other, you know, interviews and things like that before, so I want to try and keep it fresh, you know, for the most part. But super pumped to have you on the show. I think the last time I saw you was at the Prescott Valley Music Festival.
Yes, that was fun.
Yeah. So, just to give a little backstory, Carrie is an amazing person. She runs a record label and artist development company called Green Kite Records. It's here in Phoenix. But yeah, I had so much freaking fun. I was the MC for that, and it was awesome.
He was good. He was really good.
Dollskin was phenomenal.
Yes.
I think they were my favorite of the bands. I loved Co-op, though. Co-op killed it.
They were
Yeah.
both really good.
Yeah.
Dollskin is my favorite, too.
Yeah.
Except for our Green Kite bands, I thought.
Well, for sure.
They were really good.
For sure. So, all right. Well, hey, I know you super well. We've been, you know, kind of working together and had a relationship since I was an intern of yours, which we'll talk about a little bit later, you know, a couple years ago. And, you know, kind of fell in love with what you do. And I thought you'd be a perfect guest to have on and kind of explain why you do what you do, what the heck Green Kite Records is, and just kind of enlighten us a little bit. So
Will do. Did you want me to start now?
no, don't start. Yes, please tell me all about. So for people that are like confused, what is Green Kite Records exactly?
Green Kite Records. Well, we act as a nonprofit, so we are not by legalities a nonprofit, but we do operate as one. And back in the day, labels used to have artist development. That was a big part of what they used to do. Mm-hmm. I'm talking 10, 15 years ago. But today's bands just see them as a bank. I don't even know if they see them as a bank, but they just think that the label puts them out there and they become famous and what have you. But back in the day, they actually developed the artist before they set them out. They made sure their brand of their image was correct, their clothing was correct, their everything, so it could be marketed at the highest level. Since labels today really don't focus on that, they're more into, okay, here's $100,000, go do your thing. We decided to actually get the bands prepped so they knew what to do with that $100,000 effectively and efficiently, and how to actually jump the different levels. So we are hugely artist development.
Understood. So a big part of what you guys do is more so along the lines of artist development as well as being a record label to help these bands get signed by a bigger label.
Yes.
Got it.
That's what most independent labels do anyways. They prepare the bands. They sell them to the bigger labels. We don't. We don't make a profit. We just prepare them and try and find them a bigger label to go to, which makes us unique and different. Plus, we don't take any money. We don't own their music. We don't take any money whatsoever on licensing, merch sales, tour income. All of that belongs to the band. But we do charge $200 to be in the program per month. But then we also show you how to make like about $1,000, $1,500, because we also don't give you $100,000 to start your career.
Unfortunately, the pockets aren't as deep as some of those labels. But no, that's kind of like I had Michael Beck on here last week, and he was telling me about how it's changed in terms of labels or slightly larger labels. They're looking for an already marketable product, aka band, that has a following. Like they want something that's already established, that that has that built in already. And then the first thing they're going to do is throw you out there
Yes.
and see how you do.
And
Sink
if
or
you
swim.
you don't stick, you're gone in 6 months. I don't care what contract you sign, you're gone. Because you've proven you can't make the money, so they're not going to keep you around. But you still owe them all the money that they fronted for you. So a lot of bands don't realize it's their money they're spending. So it's kind of like if you don't make it and then you don't make the label money, you're going to still owe that once you're done.
Yeah. And I think that that's always something that as an artist, you always want to maintain your integrity, as an artist, because, you know, your main goal shouldn't be to just be a famous person that makes music. Your goal should be to help bring your idea and your image of the world, or how you perceive your truth, to help connect with people and grow them as humans, in my opinion. And, you know, there's a fine line between maintaining yourself as an artist and being a profitable business, which is what a band ultimately has to be to sustain.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Unfortunately, it's the world that we live in. It's a capitalist society, and, you know, things cost money. So I think it's awesome that you're helping to teach the bands that don't quite get that part, and they have the talent, but if you were to throw them to the wolves, aka to a bigger label, you know, their dreams could get sidetracked real quick.
They have to learn how to survive. And
Right.
the labels will push and pull you in all different directions until you finally lose sight of who the real artist is. And it is all based on money. So we try to get them alerted educationally wise as to what's going to happen to them once they sign, which is a big part. The other part, I think, is a misconception about Green Kite, is that we let anybody in, which you already know is not true. Yeah. So, not that we did ask him in his band, but there are a lot of bands we turned down. And right now
Sure.
we've reduced our roster to only 5 bands.
Sure.
And now we're getting them signed. So I think before we were just trying to help too many bands at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And finally Revolution in my head goes, why don't we concentrate on a few and we can get them there faster? So this year we've decided to cut back, and it's working.
I love that. I think like Vermilion Road, Sparafar, is Divided Minds still with you guys as well?
They're signed.
They're signed? Yay! Shout out to Divided Minds. They're awesome. That's great. Why don't you tell me, you know, I'm curious to know, like, what challenges do you see artists facing these, like, what's the biggest challenge you see some of these artists, you know, having to overcome, you know, in this landscape that we're in right now with music, with everything being streaming and, you know, nobody paying for music the way that they are? You know, what do you see as the biggest challenge for these bands that are not quite there yet, but they have the freaking talent? Like, they shred, they have great music. You know, what do they need to overcome?
I think
What's
the
their
biggest issue that we are facing right now is bands are starting to disband. A lot of solo artists are coming out of the bands because that's what music is promoting. With the bands that we have signed, it is more they're trying to find their way through the genre change that has been occurring for the last year, and trying to figure out how to elevate their music to meet that demand right now without losing the integrity of what their original sound is. So that we've been working with Lauren Israel, who's the A&R rep for Sony Music. He's really good at taking what their sound is and showing them a path that they could go if they wanted to. And then once they agree on what path, then he helps them create a really good song. So he's been taking a lot of our bands.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, because I mean, as a millennial, I can tell you that most folks are listening to rap, trap, EDM, and, you know, rock music is definitely there, but it's definitely faded because of just the way that the times are. And I think that, you know, there's still that purist form, and there's definitely a ton of people that are super into that, and I respect the hell out of those guys. But I still feel that blending the two and bringing yourself that next step, with having either, more synthesizers or throwing some 808s in there, or, have a more produced song. I think that that's really just the wave that's what your brain wants. It's like, it's too boring. We've heard it. We know Slash. Like, those notes have been played. Like, you're not going to be Slash. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's badass, but, in my opinion, at least, I think that that's kind of where I see.
I'm hoping it'll go back.
Me too. Yes.
But right now it's looking urban pop. And that seems to be the direction that most of the bands are going. Now the solo artists, they are going more probably R&B pop, urban combination, but most of the bands are going towards urban pop that I've seen.
Yeah. I want to see grunge come back. That's my thing. I'm stuck in the 90s. I want grunge. Some kind of like if we could have Kurt back and bring him into 2018 to see what he would do, I think that would be amazing.
I don't know that grunge is coming back.
Come on, let's bring it back, y'all. Let's bring it back. But no, yeah, I agree with you. And, I also wanted to know what your thoughts were on artists that are doing it completely on their own. DIY, studio, DIY, booking everything, taking care of themselves in that route. What are your thoughts?
I think it's almost impossible to do it unless you got a music business degree, number one, and you got a lot of time to put into it, number two. And number three, I think you have to have the resources. So it's going to be really hard. You're either going to be you kind of lose focus of your music, I guess is what the sacrifice is. Or you have somebody in your band who can do all three, and then the rest can focus on music. But I've not seen it yet. I've not seen anyone be able to pull it off. Yeah,
and I think that you can get to a certain point, and there are bands that have gotten a lot further. Like, God, who are some of the like Sink or Swim is amazing. I don't know the full scope of what they have going on, but locally they're great. Wives is amazing. Whistle, I don't know what all the help they have.
I'm going to say that most bands that are making it, behind the scenes, there's somebody else doing stuff. And even though their story maybe were DIY, when you get really down to the nitty gritty of what most bands think DIY is, they're not DIY.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Mind blown. All right, cool. That being said, I did kind of want to talk about my experience with Green Kite because it's pretty cool. So Green Kite, when you come on as a band, basically what happens is you get assigned a person that works with you every week, and you work through a game plan on how to improve yourself as a band to get to that level that you're talking about. And I thought that was awesome, and it's super unique, and I've never found anything like that. And I think that it leaves a lot of room for artists to grow. And I think that's what we all need because I don't know what the heck the deal is, but I was reading on your website that like the number one thing that breaks bands up is communication issues. Yes. And I can attest to that. Why do you think that is? Why is communication so hard for us artists? Why is that a thing?
I don't think it's just the artists. I think it's everybody in general. I think a lot of it has to do with the devices now, where we can't even get people to call. We can't get our interns to call people. They either want to text it or mostly they want to text. And it's kind of like you can't really connect with the person over words, but you can on a phone call, on Skype. And it's really just teaching people to actually connect with another person in actual words. And so I'm going to say with bands, there's so much high emotion running in there. You really want this dream. You really want to perform. You really want, and there's a lot of anxiety also. You want all these things. And when one member isn't pulling their weight or somebody goes off the grid or whatever, there's 20 million things that can happen in a band. When that happens, and if there's no communication, really truly what winds up happening is the band breaks up. The other thing is, as bands get more and more known, and we found this in our case also, as they get closer and closer to being signed, as they get higher and higher numbers on their social media, as we start to be able to get label interest, they break up. And it's because somebody realizes they don't want to do it. And
that's kind of Michael Beck and I kind of talked on that a little bit, and he was saying that 99% of bands fail when it comes that point to jump, and it's almost a self-sabotaging, like scared of your own success kind of thing.
Yes.
And I'm not sure if that's a specific artist thing or if that just is a human fear, fight or flight that comes into play. But I know that there's a lot of psychology, as an artist, and B, just us being humans. There's so many chemicals and things going on upstairs.
I think you're right. It's a human thing.
I think you're totally right, because that happens across all spectrums too. Just before getting a promotion or something, you'll self-sabotage or, XYZ. And, it's part of the human condition, and it's unfortunate because I've seen a lot of really talented artists and bands have it and then stop because of stupid reasons that could have been worked out over a couple beers, or just given some time and maybe taking a new approach on it, on something. So
we've had several bands where we got them all the way up there, and we're now ready to introduce them to different labels and what have you, and they broke up. And we just sit there going, all right, all that, year and a half worth of work put in behind this band, and we get to the final part and they cannot get signed because they're no longer a band. So
right.
It happens.
And dealing with that jump, I think, was something that, when I was talking to bands, figuring out a way to pay to be able to quit your job and do music full time is probably one of the biggest hurdles as an artist that you'll ever have to get over. And it's something I'm still struggling. Everyone struggles with that, because obviously you got to pay the bills, and, being an artist, unfortunately, until you're, Adam Levine / Taylor Swift, you're not really bringing in the dough, so to speak. So I think it's really cool that the program teaches you how to try and be self-sustaining.